Happy 2026, everybody. And yeah, 2025 has been an interesting year. It was an interesting year, but here we are. And I want to talk about being present today. And I've noticed this with I'll use my coffee example as is how I want to talk about this, because now in my house I have an espresso machine. I don't make drip coffee. I have them, but I don't use it to make coffee. I use my espresso machine now. If you and I'm not, and okay, yeah, I have one of them's a push button machine. The other's a little more manual. But the idea being that you still have to pack the shot. You might, if I like to drink Americanos a lot of times, so I also have to boil water. And sometimes if I'm making like a cappuccino or something, I have to froth milk, right? Well, to do all of those things, you have to be present, right? It takes a little more time, right? But I get a better result as a result of that. And I also, and I also find that, if I'm not distracted by other things, and I notice that when I'm distracted by other things, for example, if I'm doing the dishes and something doesn't get clean, it's probably because I wasn't present, right? I wasn't focused on the task at hand, right? Now, I understand that, thoughts sometimes float in or whatever, and unfortunately, all of those thoughts can sometimes be distracting, right? But if I focus on what I'm doing, right, and I don't look for other distractions. I'm not trying to, listen to a podcast or watch a video or something like that. When I'm focused on the task at hand, it feels, and sometimes, in the process of doing certain sort of cleaning things even, right, I might do it something, instead of using, something that's a little more, maybe a little more automatic or whatever, I might do something that's a little more manual, right? Not to say that I don't, take advantage of vacuum cleaners and that kind of thing, but sometimes, there's certain tasks where, again, cleaning comes up, making food comes up, right? You have to be, if you're present, right, you can actually appreciate the experience. And even, coming out to a place like this, right? And it is today, given that this is like the beginning of January, the fact that it is above 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, we'll call it 16 degrees Celsius. Yeah, in January, even in this part of the world, that's a little warmer than it normally is. The years I've lived here, which isn't that many, yeah, it's been. I don't remember it being ever getting this warm, but it's certainly nice. I can tell you that. But here's the thing: when we talk about being present, right? It's being mentally in the task. It's not being distracted by something else, right? It's focusing on the task at hand, and I understand that it's easier said than done, right? And there's a lot of things that you might be thinking about, and honestly, most of that stuff is stuff that's out of your control, right? Or especially out of your immediate control. And worrying about it right now while you're doing something else doesn't really make a lot of sense, does it? Right? So if your task right now is to wash the dishes, wash the dishes. Don't try to make coffee. Don't try to do other things, right? Because the more things you try to do at the same time, the more thoughts you have at the same time, the more likely you're going to mess something up and maybe miss something that might have been, for example, if I missed something in a conversation, it's because I wasn't present, right? I wasn't listening to the conversation. I was distracted doing something else, right? And and I'm not perfect at this, right? But this is something that I think we all, in the new year, right, that we can all sort of do, is be more present in what we're doing right now, right? And that means being fully observant, right? And it means paying attention to everything that's going on around you, and not be focused on the 10,000 other things you believe you have to do. Because right now, the here and now, right, you can only do one thing at a time, right? And if your mind is distracted somewhere else, then you're not going to be happy, right? You're not going to be whatever. But if you're present and you can enjoy the here and now, right, which is what I'm, that's something, if I had to make a New Year's resolution, I don't really make New Year's resolutions, but if I did, it would be to be more present, right? And that's exactly what I do, right? Every day. And I notice I'm not being present. I don't beat myself up over it, by the way. I just notice it and say, okay, I need to be more present, right? And a lot of things that occur in life that people view as negative are ultimately come down to the fact that they weren't present, right? And unfortunately, a lot of us have been not present for a long time, and therefore we have the state of the world that we have now. We're all trying to do something, make the world a better place, right? Well, one of the ways you make the world a better place is to be present in your life, right? And exercise your agency and make choices, right, that are aligned with who you are, right? This is the kind of, in order to do that, you have to be present, right? You have to know, right? You have to be there, and you have to see everything, and not let the thoughts in your mind take over, right? Because there's so much in the here and now that is beautiful, right? And I'm not, and even around here in winter, right? And you can, with all the leaves not on the trees, you can kind of see the forest for what it is here, and here they've it's between houses and that kind of thing, but there's they've cut some nice trails here, and they've left some area here, and they've cut some nice trails in, and yeah, you can do so, and I used to running. I used to run through things like this, and I have run through this particular trail before. That's something else I need to do this year is get back on the running wagon. I haven't gone for a run in a while, anyway, that's I did make some bad choices in 2025 with my diet, and I know better, right? But I made some of those choices consciously, and even some cases knowing what was going to happen, and sometimes it happened again, right? So there's a reason I try to eat as clean as I do, and if I don't eat as clean, and when I don't eat as clean as I do, my body lets me know, right? So that means I have to be exceptionally present with what I eat and what I consume, right? And I'm also very present in what I consume on social media, right? Because all of that stuff isn't helpful for you either, right? And for the most part, I'll be honest, I don't really use social media that much. I mean, in order to advertise stuff like this, or to be, to do a podcast, like for example, I do this one called The Lotus Effect, Saturdays at 9 p.m. Eastern. We stream live, and I think we're gonna try and stream it on YouTube here pretty soon. But anyway, this idea that being present, right? It is truly, what we all need to do, and in all areas of our life, not just in our physical, but, and even kind of spiritually, right? We need to be present in ourselves and know what we're about, right? As people. And you hear all everybody's got these voices in their head that come from, everybody else saying this is the way it is. Well, I think you all know the way it is, but you have to be present to figure that out, right? And the more present you are, the more, I don't know, the happier you'll be, I think, and the more at peace you'll be, right? And that's what I've discovered in this process. So that's what I wish for everybody in 2026, is to be more present, right? Be aware of what's going on. Be aware, not just outside, but inside, right? And because even those things are choices, right? To some degree, you can choose whether to give a thought attention or not, right? And the more you think about it, the more attention you're giving it. So, if you cut it off at the pass, so to speak, then that thought won't take hold, and you can be more present, right? So, this is what I hope for everybody in 2026. If I could pick if I could give everyone a New Year's resolution, not that I necessarily think that you need to wait for the new year to do it. I think you can make a resolution anytime and decide to change your behavior at any time. But that's the one thing I would tell everybody, is be more present. And I'm probably going to be a little bit more present on YouTube because I think there's some things that I've kind of figured out over these last few years that maybe it might help you all, I don't know, work it out for yourself. Because look, there's, and I'll say this about religion, right? They all point the same basic direction, whatever you believe, right? They might have different words, they might have different terminology, but they all kind of point the same direction. Now they have all of the religions have had things removed from them over the centuries to obscure some of the things that they used to document in these religions. But if you get to the core messages, other than language, they all kind of point the same direction. But guess what? You don't necessarily need to follow an organized religion or any religion for that matter. But because it all kind of points to the same place, and it points in here. It doesn't point out there. I mean, I know they use the the divine is out there. No, it's really in here, folks. It's really inside of your body, inside of your soul, right? That you have that connection, and we all have that connection. And I think the more present we all are, right, the more present we'll be with each other, right, and hopefully, and no, I don't want to say hopefully, we will make a better world, right? And I think that's and ultimately, everything I've done in my life has been about trying to make at least my corner of the world a better place, right? Leave it better than you found it, right? All right, I think that's long enough. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Share, subscribe, like, comment, whatever it is. The standard thing is these days to do with it. But yeah, I mean, certainly share this with a friend. Like I said, I'm just out here being real, doing my thing, and sharing what I know, and hopefully it will help you to find your own wisdom and to find your own thing, find your own peace, so to speak. And yeah, well, until next time, bye for now.